So once Mary has been betrothed to Joseph, but before they came together, something unexpected happens. Matthew chapter 1:18. This is the origin of Jesus Messiah. When his mother Mary was betrothed to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found with child through the capital H, Holy, capital S Spirit. Let's stop and observe some things here. She was found. Recall English language basic grammar, folks. Was found is a verb, right? What voice is that verb? Thank you, the passive voice. That's the passive voice. Okay. What does the passive voice mean? Aha! Something done to her. So who? It means that someone else found out. Someone else found out that she was with child. Okay? Okay, so who found out? Question number one, who found out? Question number two, how did they find out? And I'm not asking you how did Mary herself find out. Okay? That's another question. I'm talking about the passive voice. Who found out and how did they find out?
The women at the well.
All right, now, you can ask also, how did Mary herself, Jesus' mother, find out? Okay, and of course, immediately every Catholic in the room will say,
The angel Gabriel.
The angel Gabriel, but that's Luke. And we've already established that Matthew never read Luke, and Luke never read Matthew. So Matthew didn't know Luke's infancy narrative. The story about the angel telling Mary, the Annunciation to Mary, is in Luke, not Matthew. Did we ever read anything about an angel talking to Mary? The angel talks to Joseph in this story. The Annunciation is given to Joseph in Matthew. That's why I'm singing this song with you. That's why I want you to sing this song. Matthew and Luke mixed up a lot. Don't read Luke into Matthew, please. Read Luke and Matthew, please. Let's keep Christ in Christmas, and let's keep Matthew in Matthew, and Luke in Luke. Can we do that?
Yes.
All right. How did the Matthean Mary find out?
She missed a period.
Now, it could take a while before a woman realizes she's pregnant. Joe says, it could take a while before a pregnancy showed. But the first sign would be she didn't have her period. The Matthean Mary we're talking about here, right? Okay. She didn't have her period. She couldn't go to the drugstore and do any scientific tests. Okay? But for our purposes in this study, let's not focus too much on our attention on exactly how the Matthean Mary herself found out she was pregnant. And let's not include Lucan elements in the story, because that's a harmonization. That's not good. You don't do that. Matthew's over here and Luke's over here. Let's concentrate on how others discovered Mary was pregnant. She was found, passive voice. Let's see how they found out. It's highly implausible Mary went around telling it, hey, woo, hallelujah, guess what God did for me? All right, that's something that she didn't do, all right, for sure. And I'm going to show you why in a little bit. All right, now you really need to think hard about this, okay? She was found to be pregnant means she was found by other folks. Signs of pregnancy take a while. But it was probably discovered by others much sooner than that, and Joe DiPaolo just gave us the clue.
Or she was gaining weight.
Well, that takes long. That takes a while. That takes a while. We don't know how long that is. So, go back to your first point. But Joe was addressing how she herself found out, right, Joe? All right, but that can also lead to how the others found out. How would they find this out, that Mary was pregnant? Well, the Matthean Mary would have discovered she was pregnant when she missed her period, like Joe DiPaolo said. And this tells us how others also discovered her pregnancy. What happened to ancient Israelite women whenever they have their period?
They go into a tent.
They're separate.
You're reading. There's a book. That's right. They're right. They're ritually seen as ritually impure.
Yes.
Ritually impure because they're menstrually bleeding. Right. They have to bathe. Okay. They become ritually unclean, Lucy. They need a ritual purification. Where does an ancient Judean or many of our contemporary Jewish sisters, do this ritual purification.
All together in a red tent.
All together. Now that's a fantastic book, where that's coming from. It takes some liberties. It takes some liberties with it. It's a fantastically written book. Wonderful. But no, it's not exactly like that. It's not in a red tent. They didn't do that back then. Oh, that's a great book. That's all right. Now, interesting, Lucy. All right. So Leviticus 15. I heard the word mikvah come from Linda. Very good. It's a mikvah, spelled M-I in English, M-I-K, but not, Mickey Mouse show. M-I-K-V-E-H, mikvah, all right? Leviticus chapter 15 is about involuntary bodily discharges, both male and female. Leviticus 15:19, when a woman has a flow of blood from her body, she shall be in a state of menstrual uncleanness for 7 days. Anyone who touches her shall be unclean until evening. So she needs to be made pure. The remedy for being unclean in this case is a ritual bath called a mikvah, as Linda explained.
Milk bath.
Question. In the village where the Matthian Mary lives, does every house have plumbing and running water and bathtubs? No. Just like there's only one oven, where all the bread gets made, the village oven, so there's only one bath, the village bath. That is the only place in the village to perform a mikveh, something all the menstruating women there must do monthly. And since all the women live together, they're all harmonized, aren't they? Yes. That's great, by the way, for the men. Okay, anyway, moving right along. In this culture, that's really bad. I'm sorry. This is getting risque, folks. This must be an American Bible study, because you just don't talk about these things in 80% of the world. In this culture, everybody's business is minding everybody else's business. How did others find out that Mary was pregnant?
She didn't go.
That's it. Guess who's not showing up to the bath this month? And also, can she fake it?
Nope. No.
Why not?
Because it's going to be visible sign. She's going to start growing with it.
Right. Maybe she tried to fake it. Maybe she came and tried to fake it and they realized she was faking it. And that's going to lead to our final test question next week. There's no test, but I'm just joking. Don't worry. We're going to do another session like this. And on that question is going to be how they got out of this horrible situation. You're going to see why it's horrible in a moment. It's to do with faking and secrecy, lying, and deception, which are perfectly reasonable strategies in the Middle East to preserve honor. Okay? Oh, she can't do that. Oh, we're going to get there. Perhaps she did show up, tried to fake it, was discovered. So the women in the village found out most probably from one of these two ways. Either she didn't go or she did. And they realized she's pregnant. So it's first the women who knew. And of course, through the women, the village women, when they found out, their husbands and their mothers would find out, and children would overhear, and then the information would spread through the gossip network, and the whole village would know. By the way, who's the last person to find out in the village? That's right, the village idiot. The last person to find out is the laughing stock of the whole village, the village idiot, Joseph.
Yeah.
Right, because he's the male that couldn't even defend his soon-to-be-married betrothed wife.